Okay, we'll begin at the bottom of Dalet Amud Beis. The weekly sponsor is Aaron and Alana Weinberg with gratitude and thanks to Hashem for Yonatan Shai Weinberg's full recovery 8 years ago. The monthly sponsor is Uncle Mike Holtzman in honor of all who keep the Daf Yomi going. Okay, so we'll begin the bottom of Dalet Amud Beis, 5 lines up from the bottom, the end of the line, Amar Abaye. Okay, so the Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Kol milsa de Amar Achmana lo sa'avid. Abaye says, anytime the Torah says not to do something, im avid mahani. If I would go against the Torah, what I tried to do worked. So we'll see exactly what that means. Di salka daitach lo mahani, says Abaye, because if you're going to tell me what I tried to do was not effective, am I lucky? Then why would I get punished for what I tried to do? So like, for example, if the Torah would tell a person, you can't marry this woman. Right? One of the Gemara's examples will be a Kohen Gadol can't marry a woman who was divorced or a woman who was widowed. Okay? So what would happen if he went and he married her? So says Abaye, I hold that if the Torah says don't do something, the Torah says to the Kohen Gadol, you should not marry this woman. If he goes and he marries her, it's going to work. I'll prove it to you. Because if you're going to tell me it's not going to work, so then why does the Torah give lashes for what he tried to do? If you tell me the Kiddushin, when he gave her the money, he was effective in marrying her, so then I understand. The Torah is saying, because you went against what I wanted, and I don't want this marriage, and you went and created this marriage, so the Torah is punishing you for creating the marriage which Hashem didn't want. It says Abaye, but if you're going to tell me that even if he would try to do it, we're going to say that such a marriage can't even work. So then Abaye says, so why is he getting punished? So Abaye is saying it's logical to him, anytime the Torah says you can't do something, if you would go against that command and try to do it, it is effective, and therefore the Torah punishes for it. Rava Amar Lo Mahani. Rava says, no, whenever the Torah says you can't do something, so our example, let's say the Kohen Gadol to the woman who was married before. Rava says, logically, I would say that shouldn't work. V'hai de lucky, and why is the Torah punishing him? Mishum de avra memra de rachmanahu. Because he went against what Hashem told him not to do. Hashem said, don't marry this woman. And what did he tried to marry this woman. So Abaye and Rava are having a disagreement. When the Torah says don't do something, is it more logical to say, if I would try to do it, it is effective? That's Abaye's argument. And Rava is saying, no, it's more logical to say it's not effective. And according to Rava, why are you getting punished? Because you didn't listen to the command. The command was don't do this action. And even though you did the action, even though it was ineffective, you're still getting punished. So now the Gemara is going to go through a whole list of examples of which way do we see? Is it correct to say that if the Torah says don't do something, that it is effective? Or is it correct to say if the Torah says don't do something and I do it, that it's not effective? Okay, so says the Gemara at the top of Hayamad Aleph. Meisvei, ones shegirish, a person who raped a woman. He was ma'anas a woman. Im Yisrael who machzer veino loke. So the Brisa says, if he's a Yisrael, so the simple understanding is that the Torah says such a person, he needs to marry her in the first place. The simple understanding is there's a negative prohibition that he's not allowed to divorce her. So that's our negative prohibition. And the Bryce is saying, if he did that machzir, he remarries her and he doesn't get lashes. So we have a situation where a person needs to marry her. The Torah says don't divorce her. He went and he divorced her. So he just transgressed that negative prohibition. And the Bryce is saying it was not effective. He still needs to marry her. So we have a situation where even though he transgressed, the Torah is saying what you tried to do was ineffective. You needed to marry her, and I told you don't divorce her. You divorced her, you still need to marry her. Okay, so the Brisa says, and you do not get lashes. So we have a model of somebody who was ineffective and does not get lashes. So says the Gemara, I amrat kevan da avra member the Rahman alaki, according to Rava, who says that you get lashes even if you're ineffective because you went against what Hashem told you to do. Hashem said, don't divorce her, and you went and you divorced her. Hanami lilki. So why don't you get lashes in this case? According to Abaye, who says you only get lashes if you're effective. So in this situation where I know that if you transgress the negative prohibition of don't divorce her, it's ineffective and you still need to marry her, so you don't get lashes because you were ineffective. But according to Rava, who says you get lashes even when you're not effective, so why don't you get lashes in this case? To Yufta de Rava, says the Gemara, it's a proof, not like Rava Svar. You say even though the person was ineffective, you see because the person was ineffective, he doesn't get lashes. Rava said even though he's ineffective, he should still get lashes. So Amr Lachashayni Hasam Damar Kra Kol Yamav. Kol Yamav Ba'amud Vehichser. So the Gemara is answering that Rava would tell you that the right way to understand the pasuk is not if he divorces her, he just transgressed the negative prohibition. Really, the model of the Torah is his whole life he has a positive mitzvah to remarry her. So it's not that when he divorced her, he just did a negative prohibition. So the answer for Rava is that's not a case where he went against what the Torah told him. In other words, the question was assuming there's a negative prohibition, don't divorce her. So the question was, so if you divorced her, even though it was ineffective, you should still get lashes. Gemara's answer is no, that the model is not a negative prohibition. It's just the Torah is saying, constantly marry her, marry her, marry her, marry her. So when he divorced her, he didn't actually go against any command. He's just now in another situation for a positive command of remarrying her. If not for the Torah saying the words Kol Yamav Hava Mina Isurahu Avad, says Abaye, if not for the Torah saying these extra words of all your life, I would have said that he did a prohibition when he divorced her. So again, Abaye holds it's logical to say if you go against the Torah, you are effective. So the Torah says, don't divorce her according to Abaye. So says Abaye, if the Torah just said the words Lo Yuchal L'Sholcha, that the person who was Ma'anis, who raped the woman, the Torah says you're not allowed to divorce her. So says Abaye, if he divorced her, I would have said he was effective, and therefore he does not need to still marry her. So comes the Torah and says, Kol Yamav, to say Kamash Malan, that there's still an asay, there's still a positive commandment to go and marry her. Okay, so just to summarize, outside, we have one disagreement between Abaye and Rava, which is going to carry us through till Thursday at 6:30. Okay, so what is that? There's one disagreement. Abaye says it's logical to him when the Torah says don't do something, that if you go and do it, you're effective. So, for example, the Torah says don't marry this woman. Says Abaye, it's logical to me if the person would go and marry her, the kiddushin would work. They would be married. How does he know? Because says Abaye, because I know the Torah punishes that person who tried to go marry her. And if you tell me that nothing happened, it's just like he gave money to an animal, nothing was effective. So then why would the Torah punish him? Nothing really happened. Says Abaye, it must be that marriage really happened. That's Abaye's logic. Rava says the other way. Rava says no. I think even though the Torah says don't do something, if you would go to do it, it would be ineffective. That same person who would marry the woman, after he gives her the money under the chuppah, right, the whole wedding, he would give her the money and she would not be married. Nothing would happen. So says Rava, so why is the Torah going to punish him? Why is it different than just giving money to a random animal? Says Rava, because you went against what Hashem told you to do. So Abaye says it's logical you only get punished because you were effective. And Rava says even though you're ineffective, you're getting punished because you went against the command. Okay. So it says the Gemara Lishnach Rina Meisvei Onish Shegiresh Im Yisrael Hu Machzer Ein Aloka. So this is the same brisa, but the Gemara is looking at it a little different here. So again, the brisa is a person who raped a woman, if he's a Yisrael, If he's a non-Kohen, so the halacha is, even if he divorced her, machsir, go marry her back, ve'eno loka, and he does not get lashes. Im Kohen who, if he's a Kohen, so a Kohen can't marry the woman who he divorced, loka ve'eno machsir. If he divorced her, he gets lashes, and he does not need to marry her back, because he's not allowed to marry her back. Katani, the Brisa said him, Yisrael hu machzir. It said clearly that if he's Yisrael, so again, the Torah says, don't divorce her. Right? So what should happen? The Torah says, don't divorce her, and what did he do? He divorced her. So according to Abaye said, it's logical to me if the Torah says, don't do this, don't divorce her. If you go divorce her, it's effective. So what does it mean it's effective? It should mean, according to Abaye, that the Torah wants you to be married to her. And the Torah says, don't divorce her. And if you divorce her, it should be, now you don't need to marry her. You were effective. You changed the situation from what it was previously. But the Brisa says clearly, if he's a Yisrael and he divorced her, machzir, you still need to marry her. Basically, just like you needed to marry her before you went against this negative prohibition of don't divorce her, Brisa says you still need to marry her. Tiyufta dabayi. According to Rava, you still need to marry her, because when the Torah said don't divorce her, so you went against it, and Rava says, and when you went against it, nothing changed. Just like you had to marry her before, so you went against it, you still have to marry her. But according to Abaye, why do you still have to marry her? We should say, because you went against the negative prohibition, you were effective, and you changed the situation, and you shouldn't need to marry her. Shiny Hasam Derachman Amr Kol Yamav Ba'amad Vehechzer. Says Abaye, that's a special pasuk, and there's an extra word in that pasuk, which is coming to say your whole life you need to go marry her. You're right. Without those words, I would have said once he went against the negative prohibition, he doesn't need to marry her. The Torah came and said the extra two words at the end of the pasuk, Kol Yamav, to come to include even the person that went against it still needs to marry her back. So the question is, according to Rava, why do I need those extra two words at the end of the pasuk? Anyway, in Rava, it would be logical if you went against it, you would still have to marry her. So Rava, Amar Lacha ilo kasav rachmana kol yamav hava mina lilki vili hader. Says Rava, if the Torah didn't say that there's still an asay, a positive commandment to marry her, so I would have said you need to marry her, but you'll still get lashes because you went against the negative prohibition. To havale lav greda, because all it would be is a negative prohibition, don't divorce her. Because the Torah said you're not able to divorce her. Says Rava, the reason the Torah said the extra two words of kol yamav is to change the model into a lav, a negative prohibition, which is nitak laseh, which you can fix by doing a positive commandment. So without those words, Rava says, I would have known you had to marry her. But it wouldn't have been that there was an asay coming to fix the lav. It would have been the model of you just went against the negative prohibition, and you have to marry her, because before you had to marry her. Torah wrote the extra words to exempt such a person from the lashes, because now it's more like a lav anitak laseh, a negative prohibition, which the Torah gave the positive commandment to fix the problem. Okay, says the Gemara, very Torah min ara ala yafe, to Rachmana Amri kol chelbo. So the words in the pasuk is Mikol matnosechem tarimos kol trumas Hashem. From all your gifts, you should separate truma. Mikol chelbo. So chelbo is the good stuff. So the Gemara says chelbo in giru and lo. The Torah wants a person to separate for the truma, for the gift to the Kohen, from the good part of the grain. Betnan, and the Mishnah said. Right, so now we're dealing with it as the Torah said, separate from the good, don't separate from the bad. Betnan, but the Mishnah said, Ein tarmeh min ara la yafe. The Mishnah says you should not separate from the bad part of the grain to exempt the good part of the grain. V'im taram, but if you did, you went against what the Torah wanted, truma sa truma. It still works. So here we have another model. The Torah says, I want you to take from the good stuff of the grain and give it to the Kohen. I don't want you to take from the bad stuff. And says the Mishnah, let's say you did it. Let's say you went against what the Torah wants. Truma sa truma, it works. Says the Gemara, Alma Mahani. So you see, even though you went against what the Torah wanted, it's effective to yufta the Rava. So according to Abaye, that's exactly his model. You went against what the Torah wanted. Says Abaye, it's logical that if you do that, you're effective. The Torah didn't want you to take truma from here. If you did it, it's effective. But according to Rava, asked the Gemara, how does Rava going to understand truma? Why would it be effective if you went against what the Torah wanted? Rava says, by truma, it's an exception. Because I have another pasuk. Rabbi Loi said, how do I know that it's true? That if you separate from the bad grain to exempt the good grain, that it's effective. Pasuk says there won't be a sin, a chet, if a person takes from the good stuff. Sounds like there will be a chet, there will be a sin if you take from the bad stuff. So he says if it's not going to be effective, then why is the Torah saying person got a chet? So says Rabbi Loi that this is my source, that if a person separates from the bad stuff for the good stuff, it is effective. Okay, so the question was, according to Rava, where the Torah said, take from the good stuff and not from the bad stuff, so why did the Mishnah say it was effective? According to Rava, it should have not been effective. Whereas the answer is that's an exception, because Rabbi Loi had another pasuk to come to learn that out. Abaye. So according to Abaye, who said that it's logical if the Torah said, don't do something. If I do it, it should work. So why do I need this extra pasuk to come to teach me that it should be effective? Even without this pasuk, I would say, you can't separate truma from here, and if you do, it's effective. So Abaye loved Amar Rachmana lo sisu alav chet, hava mina hachi Amar Rachmana. Abaye says, without that pasuk, I would have said, this is what the Torah is saying. Avid mitzvah min amufchar. Just from the words mikol chelbo, I would have said it's a good thing. It's the best thing to take from the good stuff. Vilo avad chote lo mikri. And if you didn't do it, I wouldn't have thought you were necessarily doing a sin. Kamash malon, this pasuk to say you're really doing something wrong. So in other words, Abaye is saying the words mikol chelbo, which said you should take from the best. So Abaye is saying that I wouldn't have known necessarily you're doing something wrong if you don't take from the best. I would have thought it's preferable to take from the best. So this other pasuk which says if you take from the best, there's no chet, there's no sin, which it sounds like if you don't take from the best, there is a sin. That's what's teaching me that you're actually doing something wrong. It's not just a preference that you should take from the best. It's really you have to take from the best, and you're doing something wrong if you don't. Okay, so says the Gemara another proof. Person would separate from one species, from one type of grain, or another type. The Amar Rachmana kol chaylev yitzar. So the words of the pasuk is kol chaylev yitzar, kol chaylev tirush v'dagan reishisam, asher yitnu lashem lechanes hatim. Okay, so a person's taking from the best of his yitzar, of his oil, and the best of his wine and his grain. So, litain chaylev lazeh v'chaylev lazeh. So basically the Torah said chaylev, the best of the yitzar, the oil, and then it said the word chaylev, the best again, and it said wine and grain. Okay, so says the Gemara, kol chaylev litain chaylev lazeh v'chaylev lazeh. The Torah is coming to say you should take from the best of it. V'tnan ein tarmin mimin al she'eno mino. So we're learning from this pasuk, since it said the word the best by each type. So it's coming to teach me that each type I should take from the best of it. In other words, I shouldn't take truma from wine for oil, or for oil for wine. Okay, so let's say I do it. Says the Mishnah, ein tarmin mimin al she'eno mino. A person's not supposed to take from one type of item for a different type. Vim tarim, but if he does, ein truma sa truma. Says the Mishnah, it's not effective. So let's go through it again. According to Rava, that fits very nicely. Rava says, Torah says not to do something, and if you do it, it doesn't work. But according to Abaye, Why would it be that the Truma would not work? Alma lo mahani, says the Gemara, you see from the Mishnah, it doesn't work. Tiyufta Abaye. It's a question on Abaye. Amar lecha Abaye, shiny hasam. Abaye says, over there it's different. Damar kra reishi sum. Because in that same pasuk it says reishi sum. So tell me reishis lazeh, the reishis lazeh. There's an extra word in the pasuk, says Abaye, which is coming to teach me it shouldn't work. That you have to really separate them. V'chein amar Rabbi Loi reishi sum. Rabbi Loi also said that extra word is what's teaching me that it shouldn't work. Ula Rava. So according to Rava, why do I need the extra word reishi sum? Ilav da amar rachmana reishi sum hava mina tirish v'yitzar. Says Rava, if not for the Torah saying the extra word, I would have thought tirish v'yitzar dichsiv behu chelev, that by the oil and the wine, where the Torah said the word chelev, I would have said dein tarmim mizel zeh. I would have said those two where it said the word chelev directly on the oil and the wine, you can't take from one and the other. Aval tirish v'dagan. But when it comes to taking from wine and dagan and the grain, dagan v'dagan, or taking from two types of grain, dechad chelev ksiv behu. So in all of those, right, the word in the pasuk was kol chelev, tirush v'dagan. So since it only said the word chelev once in a reference to tirush, the wine, and the dagan and the grain, so says Rava, I would have thought two types of grain or wine and grain, because that's all under one heading of one kol chelev. So I would have said ki tar mehai ahai lo lucky. I would have said if you separate for one and the other, it wouldn't be a problem. So therefore the Torah said an extra word that even within two types of grain, or even wine and grain, even though we only said one chelev for all of those things, still you're not able to separate from those two. Lishnachrina hatirish v'dagan dechad chelev ksiv behu. So the other version of the Gemara is just a little different on one detail. Hatirish v'dagan dechad chelev ksiv behu tara mehai ahai. So this version is saying we would only think from wine and grain. In other words, before we said wine or grain or two types of grain. So here the Gemara is saying, Rava is saying, I would have thought wine and grain you could separate from this and this, from one and the other. Kasarachmana reishi sum. Therefore the Torah said the extra word. Okay, so just again to summarize outside, we have the one disagreement Abaye and Rava. Abaye says if the Torah says don't do something, if I go and do it, it is effective. Rava says if I go and I do it, it's not effective. Okay, so far we've had, I lost count, 4 or 5 proofs back and forth. Okay, basically each one, they've come out the exact same in each case. The question is, what's the starting point? Abaye's starting point always was it should be effective. So anytime we had a case that it's not effective, he said that's an exception to the rule. And Rava started the opposite. Rava said really the starting point is he's not effective. In any case we found that he is effective, Rava said that's an exception to the rule. But so far in every case we've seen, they've come out exactly the same. Okay. Says the Gemara 5 lines up from the bottom. So charamim, one example of charamim is a person can donate money to become the property of a Kohen. Chermei kohanim means a person makes something and basically gives it over to the Kohen's private property. So charamim damar achmana lo yimacher v'lo yigal. So says the Torah, if a person would do that, he's not able to get that thing back. There's no way for him to sell it. There's no way for him to redeem it. V'tnan chermei kohanim ein lehem pidyon. If a person would try to redeem it, it wouldn't work. Ela nosen lekohen. You have to give it to the Kohen. So alma lo mahani. So the Torah said you can't redeem it. Says the Mishnah, what happens if I try to redeem it? It doesn't work. Tiyufta da Abaye. The question in Abaye, according to Rava, that's Rava's model. The Torah says not to do something. You try to do it, it doesn't work. But according to Abaye, why doesn't it work? Says Abaye, in that pasuk where it said you can't redeem it, the next word is it's kodesh kadashim. So it's Kodesh Kadoshim Hu. So that's coming to say, basically, why did it say the Kodesh Kadoshim Hu? It's coming to say that it's Bavyasa Yehei, that the status that it had remains forever. It's an extra word coming to tell you it can't work here. So Rava Hai Hu Lem'uti B'char. So according to Rava, why do you need that extra word Hu? Rava said that the Torah says don't redeem. So I would already know if I would try to redeem it wouldn't work. So why do you need the extra word Hu at the end of the pasuk? Says where that's for something else. Lem'uti B'char. That's to exclude by a bechor, by a firstborn animal, because we learned that Tanya b'bechor nemar lo sifta. By bechor, it says you're not able to redeem the bechor. V'nim karhu. But the halacha is that a person's able to sell the bechor. As she says, if a blemish came to the bechor. B'maiser nemar lo yigoel ve'eno nimkar lo chai v'lo shachat lo tam v'lo balmum. When it comes to maiser behema, the 10th of a person's animal, so there the pasuk says you're not able to redeem it, and the halacha is you're not able to sell it, whether it's chai, whether it's alive or it's shechted, whether it doesn't have any blemishes or it does have a blemish. So what's Rabbi answering? Rabbi's answering that this extra pasuk, Hu, at the end of the pasuk of Chermei Kohanim, so we'll see a little bit later, but there would have been a way to connect Chermei Kohanim to Meiser Behema, which would have connected it all the way to Bechor, to my firstborn animal. So I would have thought to learn out that a person wouldn't be able to sell his Bechor. So this pasuk, Hu, is saying there's an exclusion to that. By Chermei Kohanim, you can't sell it, but by Bechor, you could sell it. Okay, 4 lines down. Varei Temurah. We're back to Temurah. Varei Temurah d'amar Rachmana lo yachlifenu v'lo yamiroso. By Temurah, the Torah says, persons shouldn't swap the animal, which he was makdish an animal, he shouldn't swap a different animal in its place. V'tana, and the Mishnah said, the Brisa said, Lo she'adam rashe lahamir, not that a person's allowed to do it, Elashim himir mumr, but if he did it, it works. V'sofek sarboyim. So and he gets 40 lashes. So again, another model. The Torah says, don't do this switch. Says the Brisa, and let's say I do the switch. It works. So Alma Mahani. Says the Gemara, you see it works to Yufta the Rava. According to Abaye, that's very good. The Torah said, don't do the switch. If you go and do the switch, it works. According to Rava, why was it effective? So Amr Lacha, Rava would say, Shiny Hasam Damar Krava Yahu Temuraso Yekodesh. Says Rava, yeah, the end of the pasuk come and says that it and that which it swapped are both Kodesh, are both holy. So it's coming to tell you, even though I told you not to do this, the pasuk at the end is coming to, but if you did it, it is effective. So lo Abaye. So according to Abaye, why do you need the end of the pasuk? Even without the end of the pasuk, the very nature of the Torah said, don't do the swap. That should tell me if I did the swap, it works. So says Abaye, Lav Damar Rachmana Vayahu Temuraso. If not for the Torah saying that it and that the original animal and that which you tried to exchange it with, Havamina Teitezu Vitikanezu, says Abai, without the end of the pasuk, if I just said don't swap, so I have my one animal which is hektish, says the Torah to me, don't exchange it. So says Abai, well, what I would have thought happened is the Torah said don't exchange it, and when you do exchange it, it works. So now this animal became hektish, and that animal becomes not hektish. I would have thought my swap worked. Kamash Malan, the Torah is coming to tell me both remain hektish. Without the extra pasuk, I would have said, the Torah said don't swap. If I would swap, so the swap would work. That which was hektish now becomes not hektish. That which wasn't now becomes. The end of the pasuk, which says it and the swap are both hektish, that's why I need the end of the pasuk to say that both of them remain. Okay, says the Gemara, Bechor da Amar Rachmana lo sifta. So by Bechor, the Torah says a person is not able to redeem his firstborn animal. V'tnan, in the Mishnah says, lo yesh lein pigeon. So this is talking any kudshim, anything which a person would bring as a carbon. If it got a mum, it got a blemish, yesh lehem pigeon, there's a way for a person to redeem it. and transfer the kedusha, the sanctity from that animal to something else. Ulu Temurah say in pigeon, and same thing, that which you redeemed your you separated this animal, okay? Then it got a blemish, so I redeemed it, and then that animal that I redeemed it with also got a blemish, so I can redeem that again. Chutz min ha-bechor u'min ha-meiser. Says the Mishnah, two exceptions. One exception is bechor, firstborn. The other is meiser. So meiser we're going to get back to a little later. So we're focusing on bechor. So the Mishnah, it's the pasuk says by bechor you can't redeem it, and the pasuk says, and it doesn't even work if you try. Now that's what we see from the Mishnah. Al malomahani, says the Gemara. It's a proof to Rava that the Torah said don't redeem this firstborn, and if you do, it doesn't work. Tiyufta da Abaye. Says the Gemara, it's a proof not like Abaye. Amr lecha, so Abaye will answer, Shani Hasam Damar Kraheim Bav Yasan Yehu. That in the parsha of Bechor it said an extra haim to tell you that it's gonna keep its status which it had. It's an extra word coming to tell you that what you tried to do was ineffective. Ula Rava hai haim lamale. According to Rava, who says I would have already known it doesn't work. So why did the Torah say that word haim? To tell you haim craven, vein Temurah saying craven. To say that you can't bring the swap which you tried to do, you can't bring. So in other words, all the pasuk said is lo sifta, that the original thing you can't redeem. So I think Rava's understanding, the extra pasuk is saying, and even the thing which I tried to swap in, and the Torah said you can't take the kedusha off that bechor. So Rava's saying the extra pasuk is saying that which you tried to swap it with, that also was ineffective. Ula Abaye haisvarim minoli. So how does Abaye know that which I tried to swap the firstborn animal with, it can't be brought as a carbon? Im shor im seh lashem hu, lashem karev or hu karev, vein Temurah so kreva. Says the Gemara, how does Abaye know that that's true? Because he learns from a different pasuk that it says, talking about the bechor. So the word of the pasuk is ach bechor sheyivukar lashem bebehema lo yakdish isha so im shor im seh lashem hu. So the Gemara is saying hu is coming to say the animal itself could be brought as a carbon, but the swap can't be brought as a carbon. So Abaye has a different pasuk to learn that out. So Rava ena chanami t'me'ahukra. So the Gemara says, well, once Abaye learned that the swap for my firstborn animal can't be brought from a different pasuk, so Rava could also really learn it from there. Okay, so that brings us back. So we're back to the Torah said by Bechor, the firstborn animal, you can't redeem it. And the Mishnah said that if you would do it, it doesn't work. So at first we said that's a proof to Rava that says if you try to do it, it's ineffective. So the Gemara answered, Abaye has an extra pasuk to tell him it shouldn't work. So where we're holding now is, why does Rava need that extra haim, that extra pasuk to say it doesn't work? Rava should know anyway it doesn't work. So says the Gemara, lahaim lamali. So why in Rava do I need an extra pasuk by firstborn animal to say it doesn't work? Limed al bechor umaiser shenis arav daman bakol haolin shekreven legamim mizbeach. Says Rava, it's coming for a different halacha to say if the blood of the animal of the bechor or the animal of the meiser behema was mixed in to other blood. So when you put that blood onto the mizbeach, still, even though there's only less of the blood of my firstborn animal, still we don't say that it's like batal. We don't say it's nullified to the more blood. Rather, we say that it keeps its status of blood of bechor, and therefore, whatever halachas come as a result of putting that dam, that blood in the mizbeach, still take effect. V'Abaye haisvar minole. So how does Abaye know that that's true? V'velokach midam hapar midam haseir. So on Yom Kippur, the Torah says you should take from the blood of a cow and the blood of a seir. So v'lo dam hapar merubim v'shel seir. We know that the blood of a cow is much more than a seir. Mikan la'olan shem bevatlan zedzeh. So that's my source, that even though it's assuming you make a mixture between the par and the seir, and still the Torah is dealing with them as two separate types of blood. So you see from the Torah that even though one is way more blood than the other, still we don't say one's nullified to the other, one's bottled to the other. We deal with them as two separate entities. Titania v'lokach midam apar midam ha'seir. Pasuk says you should take from the dam of the par and the dam of the seir. Shihu mu'rav and divri Rabbi Yoshia. That they should be mixed together, and still the Torah is dealing with them as two separate things. The Rava, hasa mizeh b'fnei atzma, mizeh b'fnei atzma. Rava can't learn from the pasuk by Yom Kippur, because Rava understands like the Tana Rabbi Yonason, who says that you don't mix them together. So in other words, if you mix them together, so then it's a source that the Torah is saying, even though one blood is way more than the other, still we deal with them as two separate things. We don't say one's nullified to the other. But if you deal with them, by Yom Kippur, you understand that it's two separate things. It's in two separate containers. So then there's no source that one which is more isn't mevatel the one which is less, because it's not a mixture. So Rav needs a different pasuk over here by Bechor to tell him that concept, that if you have more blood mixed in with smaller blood, the smaller blood doesn't lose its status of what it is. Okay. Savarlak Rabbi Yonason, and he holds like the opinion of Rabbi Yonason. Okay, about 5 lines down in the wide lines are in Hamid base. For a Meiser Dam Rachmana Lo Yigael, Meiser Behema, the Torah says you're not able to redeem it. V'tznan Yesh Lahem Pidyon. And we learned in the Mishnah that a normal Kadshim, which got a blemish, you could redeem it. Temurah saying, Chutz min ha-Bechor min ha-Meiser. So before we focused on Bechor, now we're focusing on Meiser. So the Torah says by Meiser Behema, the 10th animal, the Torah says you're not able to redeem it, says the Mishnah, and it doesn't work. Alma lo mahani. You see, if you go against what the Torah wanted, it's ineffective. Tiyuf to Abaye. So the Gemara, it's a proof to Rava, not like Abaye. Amr lecha shani hasam tiyalav ever mi bechar. So the Gemara answers, no, Abaye's source, that over there it shouldn't work, is there's a connection, there's a gzera shava between Bechor and Meiser Behema. Just like we just learned out by Bechor that it should not be effective, so this gzera shava between Bechor and Meiser Behema is Abaye's source that over there it also should not be effective. Hare hekdima truma lebikurim. If a person would, like we learned yesterday, a person is not able to separate the truma before he brings the bikurim. So a person would separate the truma before bikurim. Dam rachmana, the Torah says melei ascha v'dim machalos acher. So melei ascha, the Gemara understood, was the bikurim. Timacha was the truma. Lo sacher, you shouldn't go out of order. V'tnan hamakdim afal pishu belo sasei. Says the Mishnah, if a person would do it, even though he did something wrong, masha asa asa. When he separated that truma, even though he's transgressing that negative prohibition, it works. So that's a proof to Abaye. The Torah said not to do it, not to separate the truma first, and if I did it, it works. Omer lecha Rava would answer, Shani hasam damar kro, mikol masrei seichem tarimu. So that's really more directly talking about a person supposed to separate truma to give to the Kohen before Meiser to the Levi. And if a person would separate Meiser first, so the Torah says, we'll still separate truma. So we learned yesterday that same prohibition, that the Gemara understood was also the negative prohibition of don't separate Meiser for the Levi before the truma for the Kohen. So it says Rava that the Torah is saying, even if you did it, you should still separate truma. So the Torah is basically acknowledging that which you did was effective. So that's how Rav understands it's an exception to the rule. And says the Gemara, why does Abaye need that pasuk to acknowledge that it was effective? Abaye says when the Torah says don't do something, if I go and do it, I know it's effective. So he says he needs that for the conversation that Rav Papa and Abaye had, which was Elomeata Afilo Ekdima Bekri Nami Nifter, that the halacha is if a Levi would take while the stuff is still in the field, would take his meiser first, the Levi doesn't need to give it to a Kohen. So he asked, so then even once the person brought it into his house and put it in the granary at a much later stage in the process, he also shouldn't need to bring, if the Levi would take first, the person also shouldn't need to bring truma. says no. There, the Torah said you still need to separate truma. So ma rois l'rabas zakri ulhotis hashibolim. How do you know to say that if the person already brought it into the kri, already brought it into his house? That how do you know in that case if he did the meiser first? He still needs to do the truma, and you're excluding while it was still in the field, and he doesn't need to bring the truma. So marba nias hakrish yeshna b'chal digun. He said, I'm going to include the case where the person already brought it to the kri, because that's already called dagan, it's already called grain. Motines hashibolam shena b'chal digun. I'm going to exclude the case in the field, which you can't even call it a grain, it's still stalks. Okay. So now we're going back to the conversation of Abai v'Rava. This was the example that we started with. Hari almana l'kohen gadol. You have a kohen gadol who's going to marry a widow. Rachmana Amar, the Torah says almana ugrusha lo yikach. The Torah says you're not allowed to marry this woman. It's not kol makom sheish kiddushin v'yesh aveira havlad holach achar hapagum. The Mishnah says any time where there is kiddushin, a person got married, and there's an aveira, there's a sin involved in the marriage, so the kid goes after the pagum. Okay, so take a look at Rashi, 5 lines up from the bottom. Rashi says, the havi chalol. Achar pagum means the kid is a chalol, which means he loses his status of a kohen. Alma mahani, says Rashi, you see from the Mishnah that it works. Midekatani yesh kiddushin. The Mishnah said, if there's an aveira, if there's a sin in the marriage, the Mishnah also said yesh kiddushin, and there is a marriage. So you see that there is a marriage. Di lo mahani lo tafsi kiddushin, because if it wouldn't work, then they wouldn't be married. So the Mishnah is dealing with it as a kohen gadol who married a grusha is a marriage with a sin. We're dealing with it as a marriage. So says the Gemara, you see, you went against what the Torah said, it is effective. So the Gemara answers, Shani hachadamar kra lo yechalel zaro. Says Rava, the reason I know it's effective is because the Torah says that the kid is going to be a chalal, he'll lose his status as a kohen. And the rule, according to some opinions, is if kiddushin works, then the kid is not a mamzer. If the kiddushin doesn't work, if they can't even be married, a person would have relations with a married woman. If he would try to marry her, it wouldn't work. So if they would have a kid together, that kid would be a mamzer. So says Rava, the pasuk came to say that this kohen gadol to the grusha, if they have a kid, the kid is going to be a chalal. He's going to lose his status as a kohen. It didn't say the kid's going to be a mamzer. So why isn't it a mamzer? Says Rava, it must be that if he would marry her, it would be effective. So that's where I see in the Torah itself that even though the Torah said not to marry her, if he would marry her, it would work. So Abaye says no. If the pasuk was just coming to teach that, it would have said lo yachel without the extra lamed. My lo yechalel echad lo ve'echad lo. Says Rashi, it's coming to teach that the woman herself becomes a zona. That if she was involved in this relations which was prohibited for her, so then she becomes a zona. And for example, if she was eating truma from her father's house, so a zona loses that status. So Abaye's response is, why did it say the extra lamed? If it was just coming to say the kids would become chalalim, would lose their status as a kohen, it would have said lo yachel. Why lo yechalel? Says Abaye is really coming for a different halacha, to say that she'll be mischalelas, that she'll lose her status of something. What's that? That if she was eating truma before, she loses her status of truma. Okay, maybe we'll stop over here. Okay.
The same issue, no?
What'd you see?
Why would the Kohen Gadol can we just work with the Kohen Peggy? Marry some.
It should be the same thing.
I'm saying you have to go to.
Why did we jump to Kohen Gadol?
Why jump there?
I hear the question. I'm not sure.